Welcome back to the Tom Collier YouTube channel. Today with me is Sheikh El Sham, one of the biggest names from Preston City Wrestling here in the UK, and someone who's had a major storyline recently with the buyout, which involved Billy Gunn in the end of it. So how are you doing today, Sheikh, my man?
Brilliant, not too bad. Thanks for having me, Tom. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. So I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you may have, and I'm going to chat with you today.
I'm excited to get you in front of more eyes, to be honest. Obviously, I've seen quite a lot of your work. I'm a big fan, and I want everyone to join me in that. But I want to start by talking about the role you play and how it really works with today's audience. The role you play is that of the Middle Eastern millionaire. Now, why did you choose that?
Again, I was always, once when I was drawn to wrestling, I was always drawn to sort of the bigger characters, the larger than life characters more than anything. And again, sort of with my background, I thought it'd be a good idea to utilize sort of my ethnicity and also to break barriers at the same time as well. Really, more than anything, rather than just coming across as a generic a coloured wrestler, so to speak. But again, with the Middle Eastern millionaire, you can have a lot of fun with the character because he has a lot of money, he has a lot of women, and it takes a liking to super fast cars and really beautiful women, along with these sort of exotic animals and things like that. Really.
To be fair, this is one of the things that really jumped out at me at first, because the first time I saw you was at a soft play area in Blackpool. And I remember you fighting through the crowd, just winking at people as you went. And those little background things, they worked for me. But you've mentioned they're using your background and your ethnicity. Have you encountered any prejudice in wrestling because of that?
I'll be honest with you, sort of, if I can kind of go into a little bit of a long story with you. My background was in football. So before I came into wrestling, I played football quite a high top level. And again, when playing football, I was probably a victim of more sort of racism there than anywhere else. And when I came into wrestling, I was always sort of aware. I had my guard up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what to expect. But honestly, it has been amazing how welcoming people have been, and how this sort of atmosphere that I get now is that we all believe the same colour, especially with sort of things that are going on at the minute. I think people should they should know that it's not the same situation for everybody else. I was taken under the wing by so many great wrestlers, giving advice, and never once looked at me because my background or my ethnicity or the colour of my face. And again, it's been such a blessing to kind of feel that in wrestling, and hence why it's become so much of a passion, even more so, I'd say.
That's good to hear, especially, as you say, with quite a lot going on at the minute and a sense of negativity right now about UK wrestling. It's nice to hear that at least you've had a good experience of it so far. Now,
Absolutely, yeah.
you're mostly wrestling at PCW, which is Preston City Wrestling. When the current lockdown came into effect here in the UK, there was a worry that the PCW Academy could go under, and I did see fundraising efforts made by that. Can you update us on that at all and how things are going?
Again, sort of being a trainee for the academy for many years, and then having some sort of responsibilities before lockdown. There's always going to be a slight fear, and there's going to be a risk of any sort of wrestling school and any promotion to go through that. Fingers crossed. It seems like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel in regards to the pandemic, and sort of in how we all gonna sort of come back from that. I think it's great. Some of the fans have been fantastic, and again, some of the trainees have been wonderful. Everybody's been pulling the weight and chipping in and looking for some ideas to raise some funds. Can I officially say that the school is now sort of out of the deep end, and hopefully sort of normality can resume, and the school will still stay open.
And for any fans of PCW, I will put a link to any fundraising activities in the description of this video. I did want to ask, because I've seen your Instagram and the efforts you make, and even just going to the Middle Eastern Millionaire, the training that you do and the effort that you make to make sure you are in pristine condition. With gyms closed and everything happening, how has that been different in the current era?
If I'm honest with you, Tommy, it was hard hitting. I don't think there's been a time where, since the age of 12, I've not had any sort of fitness or training regime.
Right.
So when the whole lockdown situation happened, I found myself sat about for about maybe 10 to 12 days, getting really frustrated in regards to what am I going to do. So I decided to set up a home gym, purchase a lot of equipment, which again, the equipment has become overpriced because of the high demand of it, of course. But I don't think there was going to be a price and sort of for my fitness and sort of keeping myself in shape or trying to progress even further. As you know, Tom, I recently kind of suffered it's just been over a year now, and a severe elbow injury, which I came back from. Unfortunately, my physio had to stop because of COVID as well, because I was having ongoing physio for me to be able to compete further in wrestling. So again, I had to kind of focus on that area and kind of rebuild and increase the strength in that area as well, really.
I can understand a lot of people that we know being in the wrestling world are having a lot of difficulties getting the training they've been looking for. It's nice you've been able to set up, but I didn't know about the physio not being available, and that must be a shame. Are you over the hump, as it were, with the injury?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's because of the severity of the injury. I mean, those of you that are not aware, I actually snapped my elbow, so my elbow bone actually came off my arm. I don't think many people realise it was during a match in Blackpool. The match carried on. I didn't say anything until we got sort of backstage, really, more than anything, because as they say, the show must go on regardless of.
Absolutely,
regardless of that. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it took me quite a while to, after sort of my operation and break, it took me a while to kind of put sort of my size back on in terms of my muscle mass, and then sort of the flexibility and being able to kind of maneuver my arm in certain ways. One thing I can say, and which I've learned during lockdown, is I feel I probably did return a little bit too quickly in terms of my injury, and that was purely because of. So I was cleared in October of 2019, and I had a WWE NXT UK tryout in November of 2019. So I literally had 4 weeks to get myself in shape. So it was rather it was a manic time. I mean, it was fantastic. The experience was great, but I think leading up to that, I wish I had more time to prepare and was 100%.
I completely understand that. There are rumours at the minute about NXT UK reaching out to independent talents. If that opportunity came up, would you go in for another tryout?
I'd say absolutely. I mean, you see, for me, Tom, I feel as though I do like the NXT UK product. I genuinely do love it, but I just, and again, and I'm not just saying this because of me, just because of myself and sort of the gimmick or the character, but I do feel they do miss these sort of larger than life characters, which what put wrestling on the map in the first place. And I just think, you know, there's a number of wrestlers out there that could bring so much to the table for him, and by having a Middle Eastern millionaire on there, would that drag in sort of more viewers for him, or would more people tune in, or So
there is only one way to find out. I did want to ask you about what I consider to be probably your greatest strength in wrestling, and the fact that you're talking about larger than life characters makes a lot of sense to me because of this. And that's your time when you've got the microphone in your hand, particularly when you're working directly with a crowd. We've spoken about the fact before, it's difficult to get mic time as a relatively unknown wrestler. We've talked about in PCW you get mic time, whereas somewhere else you might not. Why do you think that is?
I'll be honest, Tom, before I answer that question, I'll genuinely make this clear. It was difficult. It was super difficult to get any mic time, especially when I came into PCW, because of the people that and the great wrestlers and that they had there. I mean, when I sort of entered, you had the likes of Tel Bannum, who was absolutely, you know, he was a heat magnet, and he still is, a heat magnet, and he had a lot of time, and the promoter, and along with the writer, you know, I would approach and I would ask them, is there any chance I could, you know, even have a couple of minutes, or even say a couple of words on the mic? And in all honesty, they didn't request it at first. And I thought to myself, there must be a way around this. And this is why I started putting out a lot of promos, sort of behind the scenes, and calling out certain specific wrestlers, whether this was over Instagram or Facebook. You know, there was a time when I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to grab that mic, and I'm just going to run my mouth. And I remember, I think it definitely was a show at Evoke. And I got into the ring, ran my mouth a little bit, and all the way through the match, I was like, oh, this is probably my last match, because as soon as I get back there, I'm genuinely interested. But I remember the writer, those people that don't know, sort of Greg Lambert, absolutely loved it. And ever since then, you know, I was always able to say something or mention something, and he put me forward for quite a lot of promo time, mic time after that. And sort of the second part of the question, in terms of the sort of skills and I think for myself, like I said, my background's always been public speaking, in terms of whether that was after sort of playing football with coaching, and then going into teaching, and things like that. And I was always a fan of the promos of you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. They were just brilliant just to watch. So for me, that's the full package. I mean, there's some fantastic wrestlers in the UK, absolutely superb, who, I'll be honest with you, who run rings around myself when it came to ability-wise and you know, technically. But sometimes they just kind of miss, you know, they miss that sort of that final sort of edge in terms of the mic skills and to complete the package.
Yeah.
You know, the Sheikh would say that they don't have the panache. You know, that's the only thing.
And I would say that's probably a good bit of advice for anyone trying to break into the scene. Social media is a wonderful place to show that you can talk. Even little things like you say on Instagram, it shows a potential promoter. They're going to check that, and they're going to see what you can do.
Absolutely,
I've been to a lot of shows where you've wrestled, and while you're mostly booed, there's always a group who go against the grain. How do you handle that in a ring when you get a mixed response?
Again, that's a great question, Tom, because that's something that I did find quite... I was thrown off by it at first, in all honesty. I love working a heel. It's just, I don't know, it's just become part of me, I suppose, as going on. It always throws me off by having sort of a group of people that do kind of cheer you or want to cheer you. And I think it's not the case. It might just be specific to me. It's probably like that with all the heels that come out.
Yeah, true.
And it can be sort of, it can put you off. And it did at first. And I thought, hang on a minute, the Sheikh's not used to these cheers. You know, the Sheikh always refers to, and he always responds to the boos. You know what I mean? That's sort of the energy that I would feed off is the boos. And again, hence why I do enjoy being a heel so much. And I think it got to a stage where you kind of have to, I think ignoring it at first wasn't working for myself.
Yeah.
And you have to make some sort of acknowledgement, and whether you can acknowledge them and then embarrass them at the same time is even better, you know. And once you find out ways to do that, a lot of the times, the next time they see you, they will genuinely boo you. So that's just a little tip that I kind of picked up from being around some vets, you could say.
Absolutely. And I do specifically remember a match. It was in Blackpool, I think it was with Joey Hayes, where he crotched you on the ring post, and then you had about 40 kids charging towards you, pulling at your legs.
That's what I did,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
you definitely get heat from across the board, I tell you that. I want to ask, because people who enjoy working heel, they say this to me all the time. Do they enjoy being hated? Do you enjoy being hated?
I think it's not so much being hated, Tom. I think it's just the fact of being able to. You see, the reason why I was drawn to kind of heel and why I've started working, why I've started enjoying working as a heel is, it's just like when you watch a film and you're always intrigued by the villain, because the villain always has more of a backstory
Yeah.
than the hero does. If you pick out people like Heath Ledger, for example, who played Joker, everybody wanted to know more. You were left on edge.
Yeah.
You always wanted to know. There has to be more about this guy and why he's doing this and I think I've kind of tried to. I'm trying to sort of adopt that sort of nature in there. And the other thing is, if I can send some of them kids or some of the viewers or some of the fans in person their home with a smile on the face by being pinned, it's for me, that's my job. My job is there to see if I can get that face that I'm against more cheers. And unfortunately, the business has become a little bit selfish. I know I've not been in the business long, but I think I'm grateful for the people that I've sat with and who have learned from. And God rest his soul, Lionheart would have these discussions with me all the time about it's not about you when you're a heel. It's about putting the other person, over. And that genuinely stuck with me since day one. I hope that kind of answers the question.
It does. It does. Just speaking on that, I do remember in Evoke watching Lionheart's rematch with AJ Styles, just absolute awe of what was going on in that ring. And AJ Styles, even at the time, as the heel, knowing he would be, making sure to sell just right and making sure to cut a promo afterwards saying, you deserve this shot. And I feel that really embodies what you're saying there.
Absolutely. And I think it's, again, going back onto the point, and again, I'm not here to upset or offend anyone or anything like that, but wrestling got to a stage where you have, and I don't know what to call it, the sort of newer generation or the younger generation coming in who genuinely just think a match is about them, or a show is about them, where that's 50-50, that a wrestling match is who you're in the ring with. If your job is to put the other person over, then you do that to the best of your ability. If I'm trying to I want to make my opponent look great, so he makes me look even better. And then for me, wherever you are in the match, you're contributing to a whole sort of performance. It's a whole sort of, take it as a Shakespeare play, no pun intended, a Shakespeare play. And you have each act and each scene. Do you know what I mean? It's all contributed to the whole play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely get what you're saying. And as you said, contributing about the whole thing, you played a key role quite recently, not just in PCW, but in the buyout storyline, which was really a key storyline for the whole thing. It's got you title shots. It's even got you a match with the guy in charge of the whole thing. And that is a very rare example of a long-term storyline in an independent federation. We don't see that. Now, in that time, you've worked for a lot of people, including most recently a cowboy and a judge. What have you learned from being in such an important position?
Again, this was all sort of, it happened so quickly, if I'm honest with you, when it was going on. It was almost like PCW did strap the rocket to me and just said, right, go and get yourself up there, but I kind of felt that because they trusted me in order to, it trusted me with, with the sort of storyline itself to give me more of a lead role in it. Now, you had people like Danny Hope, who is, who's guided me all the way through because of his years of experience, and he kind of stood by my side. And there was times where I was like, I don't know if I can be right about leading the whole sort of buyout. Like, why am I the leader and all this kind of stuff? And he sat me down a number of times and he said, look, it's your baby. You need to run with it. At the same time, you want to have the respect from the lads and ladies in the back, as well as then looking like you own the joint and run the show in front of, and you kind of find that quite a lot where you don't want the role to get to your head. You don't want to be, you don't want it to kind of like increase your ego about anything like that. Because for me, like I said, I say this now, Tom, and you've been extremely kind with sort of the words that you have said, and you've always been a supporter of myself, and I really appreciate it. But for me, it's still, I'm still new to the game. I'm still learning. And being able to do that, especially on TV, and fulfilling the requirement of sort of leading a group of awesome guys and girls, and then going on to kind of leading a company which was so well known for so many years. It genuinely was so sort of exciting, and it was an experience which I don't think I'm ever going to forget, really. And I genuinely do look forward to further storylines and being part of even more history, I would like to say. Because I think it got to a point where we were a little bit afraid that people would get a little bit bored, because, as you said, it's very difficult now for promotions to run with so many sort of long storylines. And again, I think it was just unfortunate with sort of the injury that I picked up at the time that I did, because there was other stuff sort of planned in the works, which might have been, a little bit shocking to the viewers at the time. So
I do remember that you spoke earlier very glowingly about Tal Banham and the amount of heat that he could get, and I do remember that you and he were both injured at the same time, and you just ended up doing tandem promos for a whole show. I do remember that very fondly, I've got to say.
It was again, like I said, it was a crazy time, really, because Tel is so much of a different heel than myself, and I always admired how much sort of heat that he got. And there was a time where, and I'll be honest with you, and I hope I can be honest, Tom, by saying this, there was a time where I thought, he's getting real heat. I mean, I'm just getting heat because I'm coming out as a foreigner, or I'm coming out with a turban. Do you know what I mean? But then, this is where I had to then kind of work harder and kind of step it up and think, actually, I'm going to show that I can actually get real heat, and it's not purely just based on because some promotions I would work for, and again, I wouldn't like to mention any, but some promotion I work for, they would fill you in as, you're just going to be the generic bad guy because you're from a different country, or do you know what I mean? And this is why I think having the sort of buyout and the storyline and working with Tal Banham, it made me more confident, and made me increase my skills in regards to gaining heat and crowd work and things like that.
We spent quite a lot of this interview talking about things you've done well and things you've done great. Well, during the last PCW show, I was at that for that, and there was a tournament going on, and it was the second time in a major tournament you've been a runner-up. Are you worried at all about getting a reputation as being the biggest loser?
You see, just before this question, Tom, I thought we were getting along. I thought yourself and the Sheikh were getting along, and now you want to throw these little digs at the Sheikh and
I'm just
say
asking
that,
for the people. I'm just asking
that he's some sort of a loser. I mean, let's be straight up. Let's look at it exactly. Does the Sheikh actually look like a loser to you? Every time the Sheikh walks down that aisle, everybody turns their head. Everybody looks, because everybody wants to be the Sheikh. Women want to be with the Sheikh, and men want to be the Sheikh. It's very straightforward. And let's be honest, if it wasn't for overgrown sized Judge Big T, The Sheikh would be the road to glory winner. You know it, and so does the Sheikh. Everybody else does. So let's not sit there and pretend that the Sheikh lost to Will Cruz, because Will Cruz beat the Sheikh fair and square.
Seems like there's a little bit of tension between you and, as you described him, the I'm just going to say judge, Big T Justice. What should we expect from you in the buyout when wrestling does return?
First of all, let the Sheikh make this clear. The Sheikh is the ruler, and he was always the ruler of the buyout. The buyout needs the Sheikh doesn't need the buyout. Exactly the same, where the Sheikh said this before and he'll say it again. Big T has been riding the Sheikh's coattails for the last year. The only reason he's got a name for himself is because of the Middle Eastern millionaire. What sort of damage has Big T done in the last year, apart from beat up some sort of kids judo coach? He's not stepped into the ring. He's never been in the ring with somebody at high caliber, at a level. So you want to ask the Sheikh, is there a problem? You're damn right there's a problem. And how's the Sheikh going to deal with it? But let's put it this way. The Sheikh doesn't have time for people like Big T or anybody else in the buyout for that matter. From now, when we return, you'll see the Sheikh 110%. Recovered, rejuvenated, the best Sheikh that you've ever seen, ever. And he'll be standing alone.
I dare say there's a lot to look forward to when PCW comes back. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank you, Sheikh, for joining me and giving me so many wonderful things to talk about. Thank you very much for anyone watching.